Chapter 10 is called The Shell and the Glasses. Both important symbols, right? This picks up like the morning after, guys. Chapter 9 just ended with Simon's death. And so this picks up the morning after. It starts with Piggy and Ralph's side of the island here. So Ralph is asking who's left, and Piggy says just some little ones. I'm going to read a little section here of the conversation they have the morning after, and then I'll finish with like summarizing how the chapter ends out. So they start here talking, and Piggy's whispering, Simon. And then they just kind of sit there looking at each other. And then I'm going to pick up right here, you guys. At length, Ralph got up and went to the conch. He took the shell caressingly with both hands and knelt, leaning against the trunk. Piggy, huh? What are we going to do? Piggy nodded at the conch. You could call an assembly? Ralph laughed sharply as he said the word, and Piggy frowned. You're still chief. Ralph laughed again. You are, over us. I got the conch. Ralph, stop laughing like that. Look, there ain't no need, Ralph. What are the others going to think? At last, Ralph stopped. He was shivering. Piggy, huh? That was Simon. You said that before. Piggy, huh? That was murder. You stop it, said Piggy shrilly. What good are you doing talking like that? He jumped to his feet and stood over Ralph. It was dark. There was that bloody dance. There was lightning under thunder and rain. We was scared. I wasn't scared, said Ralph slowly. I don't know what I was. We was scared, said Piggy excitedly. Anything might have happened. It wasn't what you said. He was gesticulating, searching for a formula. Oh, Piggy! Ralph's voice, low and stricken, stopped Piggy's gestures. He bent down and waited. Ralph, cradling the conch, rocked himself to and fro. Don't you understand, Piggy? The things we did. He might still be... No, perhaps he was only pretending. Piggy's voice trailed off at the sight of Ralph's face. You were outside the circle. You never really came in. You didn't see what they did? There was loathing and at the same time a kind of feverish excitement in his voice. Didn't you see, Piggy? Not all that well. I only got one eye now. You ought to know that, Ralph. Ralph continued to rock to and fro. It was an accident, said Piggy suddenly. That's what it was, an accident. His voice shrilled again. Coming in the dark? He had no business crawling out like that out of the dark. He was batty. He asked for it. He gesticulated widely again. It was an accident. You didn't see what they did. Look, Ralph, we gotta forget this. We can't do no good thinking about it, see? I'm frightened of us. I want to go home. Oh, God, I want to go home. It was an accident, said Piggy stubbornly, and that's that. He touched Ralph's bare shoulder, and Ralph shuddered at the human contact. And look, Ralph, Piggy glanced around quickly, then leaned close. Don't let on we was in that dance. Not to Sam and Eric. But we were, all of us. Piggy shook his head. Not us until the last. They never noticed in the dark. Anyway, you said I was only on the outside. So was I, muttered Ralph. I was on the outside, too. Piggy nodded eagerly. That's right. We was on the outside. We never done nothing. We never seen nothing. Piggy paused, then went on. We'll live on our own, the four of us. 4 of us? We aren't enough to keep the fire burning. We'll try. See? I lit it. Sam and Eric came dragging a great log out of the forest. They dumped it by the fire and turned to the pool. Ralph jumped to his feet. Hi, you two. The twins checked a moment, then walked on. They're going to bathe, Ralph. Better get over it. The twins were very surprised to see Ralph. They flushed and looked past him into the air. Hello, fancy meeting you, Ralph. We just been in the forest to get wood for the fire. We got lost last night. Ralph examined his toes. You got lost after the... Piggy cleaned his lens. After the feast, said Sam in a stifled voice. Eric nodded. Yes, after the feast. We left early, said Piggy quickly, because we were tired. So did we, very early. We were very tired. Sam touched a scratch on his forehead and then hurriedly took his hand away. Eric fingered his split lip. Yes, we were very tired, repeated Sam. So we left early. Was it a good... The air was heavy with unspoken knowledge. Sam twisted and the obscene words shot out of him. Dance? Memory of the dance that none of them had attended shook all four of the boys convulsively. We left early. And so that's what they're sticking with, you guys. That's their story, right? Because they're too embarrassed to admit it to everyone. And the thought of what they were a part of, murder, like, that's too much. Okay, so here's where it picks up then, you guys. Now it switches over to Jack's side of the island. And they're like heading over towards Castle Rock now. Remember the place with the big boulders that they were so excited about rolling down, and they were like, oh, if you could figure out like a lever system, and wouldn't that be cool? And they pushed those big rocks down that like smashed into the ocean. That's where they are right now, okay? Someone's walking, and this is now what they're set up like. They're like, halt, who goes there? Roger, advance, friend. And he says, you could see who I was. And his response is, the chief said, we got to challenge everyone. Okay, then they look at a log jammed under the topmost rock and another lever under that. Robert leaned lightly on the lever and the rock groaned. They figured out how to do it, you guys. They have it set up. Halt, who goes there, right? It's the whole passage. And if someone goes there that they don't want, they have this whole big rock sent to take care of them, basically. Like, see how they set up like this big boulder for their protection, if you will. And they look at it and Roger says, oh, he's a proper chief, isn't he? Yeah, crazy Roger, you would appreciate this. And then he's like, he's going to take us hunting. And then they get excited about that, and they start talking about what's going on in the group. And he says, he's going to beat Wilfred. And he's like, what for? Robert doesn't know. And he says, I don't know. He didn't say. He got angry and made us tie Wilfred up. And then he kind of giggles, he's been tied for hours waiting. But the chief didn't say why? I never heard him. Oh, so now Jack's tying up the people who maybe he gets upset or angry with or don't please him properly, because he doesn't even say why. And without reason, he's tying up these kids and beating them into submission, basically. All right, okay, so then they keep going. Let's see. They're talking about Jack comes onto the scene, and they start talking about like how they're going to proceed, and they're going to hunt, and how they let the fire go, of course, because remember, these guys never did the fire or anything like that. And so they're like, we need to make sure we stay strong and blah, blah, blah. And the others are going to come and try to spoil things. This is how they're starting to rationalize what happened last night. And then they're like, look at what they sent down yesterday. The beast came down disguised. And some of the kids are like, didn't we? Like, they're trying to ask, like, we know what we did. And he's like, oh, that was the beast disguised, and they're going to try and trick us like that again. And we have to be on the lookout all the time. So they're totally in denial, right, about what happened yesterday, and not acknowledging that it was Simon, that they killed him, blah, blah, blah. Their story is it was the beast disguised. So they start talking about the fire again, and how are they going to get the fire and keep it going all the time. And what do you think they're going to do, a crew like this? They have an idea that they're going to go over to the other camp and raid what they need to start the fire, which is what? Piggy's glasses. So down here, it's like getting to be nighttime, and they're talking about the fire. All that's left in this group, by the way, guys, is Ralph, Piggy, Sam, and Eric. And Sam and Eric are starting to complain. Like, we can't keep carrying this firewood. It's too heavy. I'm too tired. The four of them aren't going to be able to make things work on their own. is what you're starting to realize here, okay? And then they're just kind of all exhausted. They have it out a little bit about like, we got to keep going. You know, if we forget the rules, blah, 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 that type of thing. And so they kind of exhaustedly head into the shelter to go to sleep. And they hear something outside. And they're like, shh, quiet, what is that? And then he says like, I hear something, be quiet. And all of a sudden, coming in, there's like a raid on them. And there's this big tussle, and everybody is like falling on top of everybody else. It says there's a snarling in the shelter and the clump of living things, a thump of living things. They're like in this big tussle. And they come out of it, they realize, they all stumble out, and they realize, oh my God, we were basically just jumped, like the other crew jumped us. And they're like, oh, it's kind of funny because, and sad at the same time, because they're like, oh, don't worry though, because I got a good punch in the eye. And one was like, yeah, and I got a good bite on him. And they look at each other, and you guys, like the bite, one has the bite mark and one has the like black eye or lip. They beat each other up. It was like so chaotic in the tent. They thought they were getting good hits in on the other crew, like Jack's group that was raiding them. They don't realize they just beat up each other. And then at the very end of it, here you see they're walking back. It says far off along the beach, 3 figures trotted towards Castle Rock. And up here it's like they didn't take the conch. I know they didn't come for the conch. They came from something else. And then it says those 3 that are trotting towards Castle Rock right here. From the left hand dangled Piggy's broken glasses. That's what they were raiding them for, not the conch. The conch doesn't mean anything to them anymore. And those 2 guys, Ralph and Piggy, never thought that crew would jump him to steal Piggy's glasses. So now they not only have only 4 of them who can't keep the fire going, they're out Piggy's glasses that start the fire. Jack's group now has them. It's total chaos at the end of this chapter, you guys. There's only 2 chapters left to finish this off. 2 chapters. What's going to happen to Ralph's group? How does Jack's group play out? That's what you're left with, guys, and we'll pick up and finish it up next week.